Hello students, welcome to this video tutorial of cardiovascular system and human physiology. So let's get started. The cardiovascular system, also known as the circulatory system, plays a vital role in sustaining life by transporting oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and metabolic waste product throughout the body. Okay, so the cardiovascular system is also known as the circulatory system, and the circulatory system we are talking about. When you look at the heart is more like the central system of the cardiovascular system. Why? Because it is connected with the blood vessels, nerves, and everything. All this makes up the cardiovascular system, including the higher center, such as the brain and the spinal cord. These act as the regulatory center. The regulatory center just controls what happens within the cardiovascular system. So, at the center of this system, we have the heart, which is a specialized muscular organ responsible for pumping blood through a vast network of blood vessels. So, at the center of the cardiovascular system, we are saying that we have an organ called the heart, which is very much specialized in areas of, let's say, for pumping blood throughout a vast network of blood vessels in the body. Physiologically, the heart operates as a dual pump with 4 chambers. So how does it mean when we say dual pump function of the heart? On the dual pump, we're just trying to understand the fact that the heart transports both carbon dioxide and the oxygen and carbon dioxide. So there's a part of the heart that transports carbon dioxide, and there's a part of the heart that transports oxygen. That's what we mean dual function, and we're going to look at it more closely. And then this heart is made up of 4 chambers. These 4 chambers, we have 2 atria and we have 2 ventricles. Okay. Now, what I mentioned about the dual function of the heart, the right side of the heart receives what we call deoxygenated blood from the body. Because the way that the heart operates is that it's either it is releasing blood, it can only release blood in 2 conditions. One of the conditions is that it can release blood to the rest of the body. This blood is when it is what? Oxygenated. That is releasing, meaning blood is moving away from the heart. And then it is going to receive blood. That blood it is receiving is coming from the vena cava. We have the superior and inferior vena cava. These are what we call, they facilitate what we call venous return, because blood has been used up and now it is deoxygenated, that you need to go back to the heart so that it can go to the lungs and then pass through those capillaries, because they are small. They are going to trap some bubbles, and then oxygen is going to do what? It's going to be oxygenated, okay, in the lungs, whereby also the respiratory system there's a respiratory system where carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide leaves, then oxygen comes in. There is gaseous exchange in the lungs, okay, and trapping of bubbles. So now, with that said, the right side of the heart receives the oxygenated blood from the body and pump it to the lungs for oxygenation. We are going to call it pulmonary circulation. While the left side pumps oxygenated blood to the rest of the body, because this blood now is need to pump to the rest of the body, and that we are going to call it systemic circulation. What I was explaining about the four chambers of the heart, we have the 2 atria and then we have the 2 ventricles. This side we are going to call it the left side of the heart, which pumps oxygenated blood, and then we have the right side of the heart, which is responsible for what? Pumping deoxygenated blood. So now, the heart's rhythmic contraction is controlled by an intrinsic electrical conduction system. For the, or rather we can say that, the heart contracts and relax, okay? There is contraction of the heart. one of the major abilities, or rather we can say one of the characteristic of the heart that enables it to pump blood, is that it's able to contract. In the contraction, we're involving the squeezing of the cardiac muscles, specifically the myocardium, so that this blood can either be squeezed into the ventricles, that is going to be atrial systole, or it can be squeezed out of the ventricles, we are going to call it ventricular systole. Basically, when you come across the term systole, we just mean contraction. Diastole, we mean relaxation. So now, with the heart rhythmic contraction, because the heart contracts by itself, so the heart rhythmic contraction is possible due to the electrical conduction system. Within this one, the electrical conduction system, we have an important cell, we call it the natural pacemaker cell, which is the SA node. This is an abbreviation, but complete is sinoatrial node. It is located in the right atrium near the opening of superior vena cava. We are going to look at it. So this conduction system ensures coordinated contraction and effective blood ejection. Okay? So the contraction of the heart is only possible, the heart pumping its blood is only possible because of the contraction, in other words. So the cardiac cycle, when we say cardiac cycle, we mean the complete the complete function of the heart. So we mean is the heart involves both contraction and the relaxation. Okay, for it to effectively pump blood, okay, that is going to require contraction and the relaxation. So now, when we say cardiac cycle, we mean to say the process when the heart, specifically the atrium, receives blood so that the atria can contract and push blood into the ventricles, then the ventricles contract so that they can push this blood out of the heart. When all that is done, that's what we call a cardiac cycle. And we're going to look into cardiac cycle more as we go on, probably part 2 of this session. So the cardiac cycle is comprised of two major processes, and that is the systole, we mean contraction, or diastole, we mean relaxation. And this regulates the feeding and ejection phase of blood movement. Okay, let me demonstrate what I mean here. So there is at some point, this is the heart. Just imagine this is the heart. Okay, this is the heart. This is the heart. So we mean to say this is the feeding. Okay, the feeding, we mean to say it's the ability of the muscles of the heart. This is the ventricle relaxing so that it can receive blood. So this feeding in of blood, okay, once the ventricles have been filled completely, they need to contract so that they can push this blood which was filled in. Okay, this is what I can try to explain to you what I mean by this is relaxation. Relaxation allows the ventricles to receive blood, and then contraction comes in. Because once these muscles contract, they push blood in. But relaxation allows blood to come in, like the muscles relax. And that's what we mean by relaxation is diastole and contraction is systole. Okay, hope you're following. So this is what we mean by cardiac cycle. So feeding and ejection phases of blood movement is regulated by contraction and the relaxation. Okay, so having discussed that, let's now try to look into specific objectives in this session. The specific objective for this session is that at the end of this session, students should be able to describe the cardiovascular physiology. What is it? What happens? What is involved? Like what we have described. Okay? Then we are going to state different terms used in cardiovascular physiology. Of course, as we embark into this journey of explaining cardiovascular physiology, we are going to come across some terms that we need to define. And then we're going to review the anatomy of the heart, because the heart, we said, is the central part of the cardiovascular physiology. So we need to look at it. Then we are going to describe the functional morphology of the myocardium. So in the functional morphology of the myocardium, we just want to look at the structure of the myocardium, because myocardium is very much important in the contraction of the heart. Okay, so we want to understand its structure and how it adapts to the contraction. Then we also want to explain the concept of cardiac syncytium. So the cardiac syncytium is just the concept that explains to say the atria and ventricles, they contract in a coordinated manner. For that way, we are going to understand what it means by coordinated manner. Then, in the coordinated manner, we mean to say the atria contracts first, followed by the ventricle. This is to allow the ventricles to feel blood before they can contract to push the blood out of the heart. Then we are going to describe the components and function of the conduction system of the heart. So on the conduction system of the heart, we're just looking at the electrical component, where the heart, for contraction of the cardiac muscle to occur, there is an electrical impulse that need to be to be transmitted, an action potential, and then depolarization occurs. Depolarization is what brings about the contraction. So now let's dive into the concept. Those were just specific objectives that we should cover in this particular session. So now let's look at the anatomy of the heart. The heart is a hollow muscular organ located in the middle mediastinum of the thoracic cavity, slightly tilted to the left. This is just the location of the heart. It functions as a dual pump that circulates blood throughout the body. By dual pump, we mean it is made up of the systemic and pulmonary circulation. The other part involved with the oxygenated blood, and the other part involved in with oxygenated blood. So when you look at the location of the heart, we are saying it is in the mediastinum and tilted slightly to the left. As you can see, the position of the heart is in the thoracic cavity. Okay. So now let's try to look at parts of the heart. When you look at the parts of the heart, we have the four chambers: right atrium, right ventricle, we have left atrium, we have left ventricle. So usually what happens is we also have superior vena cava and inferior vena cava and so on. We also have some valves here, of which the importance of the valve is going to be understood as we go on. Okay. So when we look at this, we are going to find that the heart receives deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body and the lower part of the body using these superior and inferior vena cava respectively. Okay, so once it receives this blood, it need to go into the right atrium so that it can go to the to the lungs using the pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary artery. Once it is purified in the lungs, it's going back and come to the heart using pulmonary vein. Once blood reaches the left ventricle, then it can be pumped into the aorta, and then the aorta can now distribute this blood to the rest of the body. It is that simple. So these are various parts of the heart you should focus on. And when I mentioned about dual function of the heart, on the dual function of the heart, we are just describing the fact that the heart has two systems. We are going to call pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. So the pulmonary circulation, the major role of pulmonary circulation is to purify blood, the deoxygenated blood, so that the blood that is going to be pumped to the rest of the body is going to be oxygenated blood. So where is pulmonary circulation starting from? The pulmonary circulation is starting from when this blood that was pumped to the rest of the body has gone to the tissues and oxygen has been used, and now it has become deoxygenated. We can see the vein here, blue here. This blue is showing this blood is now deoxygenated and it need to go back to the heart using the vena cava, superior and inferior. It goes back to the heart. It's going to reach the right atrium and then it's going to the right ventricle. Then it's going to be pushed using this pulmonary artery to the lungs so that it can be purified. Then from the lungs, it's going to enter the heart using pulmonary vein. Then go into the atrium, go into the ventricle, and then from the ventricle is going to be pushed into the aorta. Then the aorta is now going to distribute it to the rest of the body. This is how this circulation is. So the dual circulation is because it involves both the transmission of oxygenated as well as deoxygenated blood. So now, when we look at the anatomy of the heart muscle is made up of the muscles of the heart. The muscle of the heart, which is the cardiac muscle, is made up of 3 layers. We have what we call endocardium, which is the inner smooth lining that reduces friction as blood flows, and because it's smooth. And then we have the myocardium, which is the middle. It's thick middle muscular layer responsible for contraction. So in this session, we are going to focus on myocardium because it is the one responsible for the contraction. And then we also have the epicardium, which is the outer protective layer, also the visceral layer of the pericardium. This can be demonstrated in this diagram. So when you look at the way they are packed, this is the heart, and then when we cut the cross section of the heart, we are going to find this arrangement of these muscles: epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. When you look at the myocardium, these are the cardiac muscle cells. You can see that they are striated, they are having intercalated disc connecting them. Yes. So the myocardium muscle is the one responsible for the contraction, hence bringing about pumping of blood. So now let's try to look look more into the myocardium, which is the muscle of the heart. So let's try to look more into it. The myocardium is the thick muscular middle layer of the heart wall composed of cardiac muscle cells. So the myocardium is going to be called myocardium because, let me give you an example. Okay. We have the myocytes. Just imagine this is the myocyte. This myocyte, it's more like a single unit. Then this myocyte, we are going to combine them. Okay. We are going to combine these myocytes. Once these myocytes have been combined, then we are going to have what we call myocardium. Okay, so in other words, we are saying that the myocytes, once they combine, because these are muscles of the cardiac muscles, they are cells of the cardiac muscles. So once they combine, they are going to form the myocardia. That's basically what this statement means here. So the myocardium is the thick muscular middle layer of the heart wall composed of cardiac muscle cells called the cardiomyocytes, which combine together to form the myocardium. These cells are striated, they are branched and interconnected by intercalated discs, allowing the heart to function as a single coordinated unit. As you saw that diagram, it's a combination of different single units so that the heart can function as one. So the myocardium is responsible for the contraction and the pumping of blood throughout the body. The myocardium is responsible for the contraction and the pumping of blood throughout the body. So when you look at the cardiac syncytium, because we've looked at the functional morphology of the cardiomyocyte, so questions are going to come here as we go on here. So the myocardium functions as a functional syncytium, meaning that although it is composed of discrete cardiomyocytes, although it is made up of different cardiomyocytes, but these are connected together, okay, which is going to behave as a single coordinated unit due to the electrical coupling. When electrical impulse comes, it's going to behave as a single electrical unit. Why? because coordinated unit because it is connected. The cardiomyocytes are interconnected by intercalated discs, which contains gap junction. Now, one thing about gap junction is that the gap junctions are found in what we call electrical synapse. And we said gap junctions allows faster transmission of electrical impulse. So even the heart contains electrical synapse because it's containing that what gap junctions that allow the rapid passage of ions between adjacent cells, enabling faster propagation of action potentials and coordinated myocardial depolarization. Like I mentioned, these gap junctions to allow rapid influx, rapid passage of ions. So now there's a term we call cardiac syncytium. The cardiac syncytium, we are describing the fact that the muscles of the myocardium operates in a coordinated manner. How is it coordinated? We mean to say it allows the atria to contract first, then followed by ventricles. So when we say atriosyncytium, we mean to say the atria as a muscle unit, okay? The atria as a muscle unit, you can look at it. This is the atria and it's having this muscle. It's going to contract first so that ventricles can receive blood. When the ventricles have received blood, at this point, they should not contract. They should relax to receive blood from the atria. Once they relax, that's when they can now push blood. It's simple. Okay? So atriosyncytium, myocardial contract as a coordinated unit first, then followed by ventricular syncytium. The ventricular myocardium contract as a coordinated unit electrically isolated from the atria except via the conduction system. This function organization ensures sequential excitation and contraction with atrial systole preceding ventricular systole. So when we say preceding means before. So atrial systole. So in definition of terms, if you are writing some definition of terms, write systole. Systole means contraction. So when we say atrial systole, we mean contraction of atrium preceding the atrial systole preceding ventricular systole. Preceding means before. So atrial systole comes before ventricular systole. So meaning atrial systole should start first so that ventricles can receive blood. Then the ventricles are going to contract when the atria are no longer contracted. Okay. So this is the importance of cardiac syncytium. It allows a coordinated movement of blood and contraction of the heart. Imagine if the atria and the ventricles were contracting together at the same time. That wouldn't make sense. They are all trying to push blood. Now, which one is going to receive? So this way, we are bringing the concept of cardiac syncytium where the atria need to precede the ventricular systole. It is as that simple. This is what we mean by cardiac syncytium. The atrial musculature need to contract first so that the ventricles can receive blood. The simple principle here is this, okay? If this is the ventricle and this is an atria, okay? This one is an atrium, this one is a ventricle. We mean to say, if the atrium has received blood, okay? Blood has flown, blood has been deposited into the atrium. The only way this can happen is when the ventricle relaxes so that it can receive enough blood. So it is receiving blood actually here. Receiving blood, receiving blood, receiving blood. When it has been finally filled, that's when now it can now contract to push blood to the lungs. And not both of them contracting together. That cannot make sense. Hence, cardiac syncytium. I hope you understand this concept. So now, when we look at the conduction system of the cardiac muscles. Basically, it happens in a coordinated manner. In the electrical conduction system, what happens is that we have 5 major cells that transmit this electrical impulse. Should take note of that. 5 major cells. This is a common cardiovascular essay. Explain the conduction system of the heart. Okay, let me write the question down so that we get to work it with it very well. So, with the aid of the diagram, explain the conduction system of the heart. Okay, 10 marks. With the aid of a well-labeled diagram, explain the conduction system of the heart. It is as simple as this. So, what is the conduction system of the heart? When we are talking about conduction system of the heart, we are saying for contraction to occur, there is need to be depolarization. Okay? Depolarization. Depolarization brings about contraction. That is what we mean. So depolarization brings about contraction, and depolarization occurs due to electrical impulse transmission. So with the conduction system of the heart, we mean to say the electrical conductivity within the heart is what enables the contraction of the heart. So the conduction system of the heart has these cells. Okay, we have the sinoatrial node. The sinoatrial node. So most of the examination or test questions are going to come in an angle of you identifying the unique part or unique thing about SA node and what it does and where is it located. So if you look at the sinoatrial node, it is in the conduction system. It is made up, it is found in the right atrium, as you can see here, and it is near the opening of the superior vena cava. Okay? The SA node generates electrical impulse. Okay? It generates the electrical impulse at the rate of 60 to 90 beats per minute. So this is the reason why the heart rate, normal heart rate, is about 60 to 100 in an adult person. 60 to 100. Unless otherwise we start going to pediatric, the little ones, their heart rate even goes up to 180 beats per minute. And that's normal. But in an adult person, they need to have the heart rate in between 60 to 90. Below and above this range, it means we have problem with the SA node, or just, most likely. Because this is what the heart rate measures. So SA node is the natural pacemaker. Please note that these questions are common in MCQs of cardiovascular. So the SA node is the natural pacemaker, meaning it is the one which initiates the generation of an action potential. If it is not okay, then the heart rate of the human being also reduces. It means they are operating using the atrioventricular node, which generate an electrical impulse at the rate of 40 to 60 beats per minute. This is the information that we want in an essay. Okay? So the sinoatrial node, it is located in the right atrium near the opening of the superior vena cava. It initiates impulses. It generates at the rate of about 60 to 100 beats per minute. So now the atrioventricular AV node delays the impulse to allow atrioventricular before ventricular contraction. We have ventricular node. This makes sense. Why does it make sense? The reason why it makes sense is this. The way the atria are made is that they are like this. Then here there are valves. And then from here now we have the ventricles. Okay? We have the ventricles. So what that means atrioventricular delay, we are talking about, because the AV node is here, the AV node is in between the atrium and the ventricle, hence atrioventricular node. When blood reaches in the right atrium here, the right atrium need to contract, more like squeeze blood into this ventricle here. So the only way this ventricle can receive blood is when it is relaxed like this, so that blood can be collected. So this is the reason why we have anteroventricular node here. Delay. There is a delay. Okay? This delay is to allow so that the ventricles can be filled, they can be completely filled with blood. And that makes complete sense. Okay? So that is about the anteroventricular node. It delays the impulse to allow arterial contraction before ventricular contraction. It is located at the interarterial septum near the tricuspid valve. It generates an electrical impulse at the rate of about 40 to 60 beats per minute. Here is the AV node. Okay? The AV node is in between here. Then from the AV node, we move to the bundle of His. This from AV node up to here, just up to here, because here there's a division and the name is different. These are now called light and left bundle branches, because they are separating. This one going to the left, this one is going to the right. So we are talking about this strand from the bundle of His, from the AV node to here, where there is before this bifurcation here. So we want to look at this strand from here up to here. It's called what? It's called bundle of His. So what is about with bundle of His? Bundle of His conducts impulse from the AV node to the interventricular septum. It generates impulses at the rate of 30 to 50 beats per minute. This is very low. Someone cannot survive on this rate. It means the hearting is pumping very slow. So one thing I didn't mention about atrioventricular node is that in case someone doesn't have the sinoatrial node, a human being can survive on the atrioventricular node, but not on the bundle of His. You can't survive because the rate is just too low. Then from the bundle of His, we move to the right and left bundle branches. The right and left bundle branches, they carry impulses through the septum at the rate of 20 to 40 beats per minute. The septum is this area. Okay, this muscle that is in between the left ventricle and the right ventricle. This is what we are calling the septum, this muscular thing. So it carries the electrical impulse through this septum and to the Purkinje fibers. Okay. So it generates an impulse at the rate of 30 to 50. It carries impulse through the septum at the rate of 20 to 40 beats per minute. Then finally, this electrical impulse is going to go to the Purkinje fibers. The Purkinje fibers spread the impulse throughout at the rate of 15 to 30 beats per minute. The ventricular myocardium triggering contraction. This is considered to be the slowest pacemaker, so you should be taking note of these statements. So this system allows the heart to contract in a coordinated and rhythmic manner because it's moving in this way. It moves from the SA node, it goes to the AV node, and then from the AV node, the way the electrical impulse move from the AV node going to atrium, we have what we call Bachmann's bundle. The Bachmann's bundle move from the SA node and transmit to the right atrium in case a question comes. So this makes everything to happen in a coordinated manner. So SA node, AV node, bundle of His, left bundle and right bundle branches, then it goes to the Purkinje fibers, then an electrical impulse is generated. The contraction now has been created, then ventricles can actually contract and pushing blood. This is how the conduction system of the heart is all about. So us going back to the question that required us to answer it with the aid of a diagram, we are just supposed to start with the introduction. The conduction system of the heart involves 5 major cells that plays a critical role bringing about the muscle contraction. Then you start with 1, sinoatrial node. You explain what sinoatrial node is about. Sinoatrial node is considered to be the natural pacemaker. Okay, it is located in the right atrium and it is near what we call superior vena cava. You see, you are explaining in a paragraph form. Then you go to AV node. Okay, AV node is located in between it's called atrioventricular node. It is located in the between the atrium and the ventricle. It transmits an electrical impulse at this rate. I forgot here, about 60 to 100 beats per minute. This is the electrical impulse. Then you from the AV node you go to band of His. Band of His you go to left and right bundle branches. Then you go to Purkinje fibers. After you explain, you even say this is how the conduction system of the heart is done to allow the contraction happening systematically. You would have already drawn the diagram. You just need a sketch, not really real. You just draw the sketch of the heart. Okay, I don't know how good you are at the drawings. Then you just label it. Maybe here there's a septum here, then this is the right atrium, then this is the left atrium. Then you just put it here. You even label it SA node. Then here you put it here, you even put AV node, because these are parts that we want. Then here band of His. Then here and this you even write left and right bundle branches. Then these fibers which goes here, you label them Purkinje fibers. Then it's going to be marked like that, maybe 4 marks. Then they want